The provinces in China's northeast are suffering some of the country's worst power cuts, with cities plunged into darkness lasting hours.
It was completely dark. I can see nothing because the power is cut from everything. Only when vehicles drove past could you see lights on.
Around 2/3 of provinces are now affected.
Another economic hurricane has arrived. It's a level 5 and headed straight for China. China is officially in the dark age. Probably not the one you are thinking about though. This one is worse, and it will be a long winter for China. The country is dealing with a lot of pressure right now as the entire economy is on the brink of collapse. This time it's not about property market issues arising from the several developers who are in muddy waters because of their massive debt. No, this time it's about China paying more than it bargained for. China is dealing with yet another issue, and this one is directly impacting its manufacturing beast. It's a power issue, electric power and trade power. If China does not issue new reforms, this might be the last time we speak of China's market crash before it happens. China is struggling with a severe shortage of electricity, which has left millions of homes and businesses hit by power cuts. There have been massive blackouts that have left China in the dark. China's northeastern industrial hubs suffered the greatest hit, and this has had implications on the rest of the world. Some are more positive than others. These 4 provinces, Guangdong in the south and Heilongjiang, Jilin and Liaoning in the northeast, have been the most distressed in China, suffering the worst power cuts. Manufacturing companies that have suffered the most crippling blow from the blackouts have energy-intensive production machines. Such industries include steel making, aluminium smelting, cement manufacturing, and fertilizer production, which ironically have seen their greatest demand around the world. People living in Liaoning, Jilin, and Heilongjiang provinces have also complained on social media about the lack of heating in winter. Lifts and traffic lights are not working. Let's just say this is the darkest we have seen in China yet. We, on the other hand, will not keep you in the dark with worldwide updates on global economic and financial news. So go ahead and like this video for more videos like this. Just scroll down and smash the like button. It helps me out a ton and it doesn't cost you anything. Now, back to the video. Companies in major manufacturing areas were previously called on to reduce energy usage during periods of peak demand. The government also suggested reducing the number of days that they operate. However, with this surge of demand, this plea is like asking a cat not to lick itself. Oh, the licking shall happen. There's no stopping it, except of course, a forced lights out. China made the decision to ban coal imports from Australia in 2020, pending strained relations between China and Australia. After Australia publicly asked for a WHO investigation in China on the origin of COVID, China took offense at this and sparked a trade war between the two countries. Ships holding China's large supply of coal from Australia were stranded for almost a year at sea after China refused to accept this import. This was meant to be China's punishment for Australia's unwelcome comment. Unknowingly, China had however bit off more than it could chew. It turned out that the trade power China thought it had over Australia was barely existent. They were more dependent on Australia's coal, and the ban on Australia had been imposed prematurely. This move caused a backlash in China's coal supply as an economy that depends mostly on coal for its electricity. Australia is having the last laugh. Rules imposed by Beijing previously were set to reduce carbon emissions with the goal of making China carbon neutral by 2060. The nation was the only major polluter to record higher emissions in 2020 than the previous year. Because of this, coal production has been slowed. China, however, heavily relies on coal for most of its power, so the government's declaration of war on coal imports from Australia was no walk in the park. As demand for products worldwide increased, electricity demand tailed behind. With electricity demand rising, demand for coal followed suit. But because there was limited availability of coal, the high demand caused the price of coal to soar. China's government controls electricity prices to manage inflation. Because of this, coal-fired power plants have been struggling to maintain a profit given the surging coal prices. Higher coal prices mean higher expenses, but the price of electricity is managed, so manufacturers have to swallow this cost. Unwilling to operate at a loss, many plants decided to reduce their output instead, causing most of China to have many dark nights and manufacturing to slow. Recently, the shock of these power shortages have caused China to rethink its emission policies. China has decided to revive coal mines to meet the demand for coal. Managing emissions has become less of a priority if the price for this is the entire manufacturing sector. The government is also reviewing the price ceiling on electricity, hoping that this will lessen the demand for electricity for industrial consumers. China is also considering increasing imports of foreign fuel. However, its trade relations with countries like Australia and the US are still strained. China even decided to take some of the coal from the Australian ships that were stranded at its borders. However, the ban on Australian coal has still not been lifted. Yet even these measures might not be enough for China to survive this hurricane. China's government has called on coal miners to boost output in this last quarter of the year. The sector has been asked to deliver over 12 million tons of coal a day for these next 3 months, adding up to 100 million tons. If the target's not reached, China could see its worst winter power shortage since 2010. If this happens, stagflation will likely accompany this scenario. Energy prices could soar higher and prompt most manufacturing industries to fold, heavily crippling the already barely standing Chinese economy. Still, coal output needs to rise faster to keep pace with demand. China must call a truce with Australia. China has resorted to buying Australia's top-quality coal through third-party countries while relations are strained with Australia. This has resulted in them obtaining the same coal that Australia used to supply them, but at a premium, adding to the growing coal prices. The only thing China is saving here is face, but their budget is getting KO'd by their pride. The demand for electricity in China and the supply have failed to be managed at equilibrium, causing large shortages in China. As the world starts to reopen after the pandemic, demand for Chinese goods is surging. China has one of the largest manufacturing industries in the world and the demand to match it. The factories manufacturing worldwide goods require more significant supplies of energy to service production. If output increases, inputs will also increase, and electricity is a key input in this modern-day machine-driven manufacturing society. This is probably the first time most production plants are regretting replacing humans with machines. Better a little production than none at all. China is the second largest economy in the world, and its manufacturing sector is one of the largest. Most supply chains start with China and end with the rest of the world. The outages are predicted to affect the global supply chains, especially towards the Christmas shopping season. The only person merry on Christmas might end up being the Grinch. China's current state might cause global inflation as people rush to buy things that they think will soon run out if China's production slows. Longer delays in manufacturing fulfillment have been reported, and some countries are even moving their manufacturing from China. International investment banks also cut their economic growth forecasts for China as they were skeptical that China could maintain output with the power cuts that affected large manufacturers in China. Goldman Sachs has estimated that as much as 44% of the country's industrial activity has been affected by power cuts. It now expects China to expand by 7.8% this year, down from its previous prediction of 8.2% with the significant downside pressure that China is facing. The events behind Australia's ban on China also revealed that Australia has a direct impact on China's economy than everyone thought. The continued stubbornness of China on having a trade war with Australia is a lost cause. China relies on coal, and Australia has the best quality coal. China should just take the L before the cold winter brings them to their senses. The government in China has been trying to reorganize its economy through multiple policies aimed at different sectors, but with crushing results. These policies have been termed common prosperity policies, but not much prosperity has been enjoyed from them yet. The Red Lines policy in the housing market exposed the Ponzi schemes from developers, which led to multiple defaults by developers and Evergrande's popular debt being revealed. The crackdown on coal production emission coupled with the trade war with Australia spiraled into a wave of massive blackouts in the manufacturing sector. This has slowed the economy's level of output amid post-coronavirus lockdown demand. These local moves are risking everyone globally and exposing how a petty reaction can cause a tidal wave. China's designer cocktail of environmental controls, supply constraints, and soaring electricity controls have left the economy tipsy. It's walking on a tightrope with the power supply crunch and the housing market debt. One misstep and it's Friday the 13th for China. But because China is so well ingrained in many other economies, it cannot fall without pulling the rest of us down. The crash is coming, and little old Aussie is not as little as China thought. Just ask the blackouts.